Hello, welcome to simple yet delicious backcountry food options. My name is David Cry, and I'll be walking you through how I make one of my favorite camping or backcountry meals out there: baked mac and cheese with broccoli. So whether you're camping, car camping, or backpacking, or you just decide to pull out your camping equipment and cook in the backyard, like this, it's important to have easy, delicious, but simple meals to cook. And so that's what we're going to walk through today. All right, let's talk about what we need to make this meal over a camp kitchen. First of all, we're going to need some kind of pot with a lid to boil our pasta and our broccoli or any vegetables that we might be using to prep it to bake. So that's important. Next, a real key thing is having some kind of frying pan or pot that you can put all the ingredients together and then bake and heat it slowly over time to bake your dish. I'm going to be using a fry bake like this. This is like a little individual kind of personal pan size. Serves about 2 to 3 people at the most, depending on how much you're eating. There are bigger versions of these that can feed larger groups of people, which work really well as well. These work great because they're lightweight. They help distribute the weight really well. It can be really a good option for cooking. I love these fry bakes. If you don't have a fry bake, you could use like a frying pan like this, something with like high sidewalls on it, and something that you have a lid that will fit on and fit on well to hold in all the heat while you're baking. But this works just as well too. You can also do a Dutch oven if you wanted. This would be really great in a Dutch oven over a campfire. All right, so let's talk about the ingredients to this meal. First, obvious choice, you need some cheese of some kind. Cheddar cheese works great. I have some Colby Jack here that I'm going to use, but a block of cheese that you can slice up. Noodles, so some kind of pasta noodle. My favorite are elbow noodles. Having some kind of vegetable or a meat option, you can add really anything you want. Kielbasa, summer sausage, broccoli, peas, carrots, really whatever you want to put in there, or you don't have to put anything. I'm going to be using broccoli today because I love broccoli. And then last, our secret ingredient is the nutty nuggets or grape nuts. This is just an off-brand of grape nuts. But a real key to doing a baked mac and cheese are these grape nuts. One for a little taste and flavor and crunch, but also to help us if we do mess up the cooking a little bit. This actually kind of helps, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, the other things that you need are just some water, obviously to bake your pasta or to boil your pasta and your vegetable like broccoli. And if you have butter, you can use butter with the grape nuts if you want, but not need it. So if you're backpacking or out somewhere where you don't have a cooler and don't have butter, you do not need it. All right, so I've prepped everything. I got everything ready to put it together to bake it. So what I've done is I've already cooked my pasta in boiling water, just like everyone probably knows how to do. Made that nice and al dente, ready to go. And then right at the end, right before the pasta was done, just a few minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes, added the broccoli that I chopped up and cut up. Made sure the broccoli got nice and moist as well, and softened up a little bit and cooked before I put it together. I've also cut up my cheese. I cut my cheese into nice thin slices. Thinner the better, just because it melts a lot faster and easier and kind of smothers the pasta, which is what you want. As far as how much cheese you need, it really depends on how much you're making, right? I know that mac and cheese that's under cheesed is just not the best mac and cheese. So I tend to put quite a bit of cheese on it because I love cheesy mac and cheese. So thin layers of cheese is better because you can add more layers into your fry bake, which you'll see in a second. I have some broccoli that I cut up here to show you that I didn't add to my pot. I do like to cut up whatever I'm putting into it, whether it's meat or a vegetable. Cut it pretty small and dice it up a little bit to make sure it doesn't take up too much volume, which is a little bit nice when you get to the baking stage. Then the last thing I did to prep is I took my nutty nuggets or my grape nuts and I added them to my fry bake. As you can see, made a nice little layer on the bottom, and then I put water in there. Let the grape nuts kind of soak up that water, become nice and wet and moist, and that'll serve me 2 really good purposes. during the baking process. One, it helps put a really delicious crusty layer on the bottom. As well as it kind of gives me a little bit of protection from the heat, so I don't burn my pasta or burn the main meal, so that can kind of act as a layer. Alright, so now that we've got everything prepped and ready for the baking process, I'm going to start by layering pasta and broccoli down into my fry bake. So I'm just going to take a little bit of layer, a little bit of this, make sure I get some broccoli in there as well. Probably could have cut up my broccoli a little bit smaller even. I want a nice little layer here of pasta, and then I'll start to layer my cheese. So I line my cheese around the edge. Really, again, I like a lot of cheese. So I'm going to make sure that I get a good layer of cheese in here. Then let's add another layer. Alright, I could add, if I had a bigger pot, I could get another layer in, get 3-4 layers, whatever I want to do, depending on how much I'm making and how big my frying pan is or my fry bake is. But again, I want to really coat it with cheese and make it real good. Then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of water. Just kind of run a little bit of water over everything. And I don't want too much water in there because I don't want it to become soupy or soggy, but I do want a little bit of water so that it steams up and heats up and kind of melts everything and doesn't burn it or dry everything out. So then I'll put my cover on and I'll start my oven and we'll get going. All right, so we're baking currently. Just want to talk a little bit about the stove. So on my 2-burner, I'm able to get it to a nice low simmer. Pretty low heat is what we're talking, because we want it to bake pretty evenly over a little bit of time, and that'll prevent burning but allow the cheese and everything to melt together. So a nice low simmer is what we're looking for. In a backpacking stove or a backcountry stove, it can be hard sometimes to get a good simmer going. So you really want to be mindful and careful about how you're cooking and managing the heat, regulating the heat. One thing that I've done with a Whisper Light stove is use the windscreen, and I'll actually create a little platform to place my fry bake on top of to give myself a little distance from the flame, the direct flame, to the bottom of the fry bake. That can be kind of helpful, and I've had less burning when I've done that. But nice and low flame is what we're looking for. So, and just kind of watching it. So let's take a look. I got a little steam coming out. Ooh, I don't know if you can see that. That looks fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and cut the heat so that we can dig in. Let me see if I can get you a better shot of this. Oh yeah, so that's what we're talking about. That's what we're looking for. Nice and cheesy, but melted all together. That looks good. And this is where we kind of find out if we overcooked it or had too hot, too much heat, is when we can find out what our grape nuts did, if they're going to be edible or if they were a layer to prevent burning. But I think, let's just kind of open it. Oh yeah. So I think I did an okay job today, a pretty good job. They didn't really burn too much. They look like they're going to be a nice little crust to my baked mac and cheese. If you want some alternatives, you can add a little grape nut on top as well. Some people like a little bit more crunchiness to the top, and that's totally okay too. So I'm going to go and enjoy my baked mac and cheese here as I'm camping out in my backyard. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I would look forward to your comments and just what have you eaten out in the backcountry, or what is your version of baked mac and cheese? Thanks.